Fatima Ratami, you're an activist. You're with Women for Afghan Women. Thank you for being with us here.
Thank you for having us.
What does September 11th mean for you personally?
Wow. September 11th means that my people really suffered. I know many people did, but but 9/11 really changed the following 20 years for Afghans and for Iraqis and for Muslims worldwide.
Yeah, the days after 9/11, one of the first things the then U.S. president does, George Bush, is go to a mosque to say, this isn't the fault of Muslims. How's it gone since?
It hasn't gone well. It has not gone well. We've seen a huge increase in Islamophobia, as you know, and hate crimes. And we've had hundreds and thousands of people that have died in the name of terror,
I remember one of my colleagues on the day, 2 days before the planes were hit. It actually begins September 9th with the assassination of Ahmed Shah Massoud, one of the big resistors to the Taliban. One of my colleagues at the time was working in Geneva, and his boss, who knew Afghanistan, said, "Get ready, you're going to Afghanistan." Did you know then as well that there'd be this calamity that would ensue?
I don't think anyone could have known the scope of what would ensue. No, I don't think so. I think Ahmad Shah Massoud definitely warned the world, and nobody really took note. And just like this disastrous pullout, Afghan women, Afghan activists, human rights activists kind of warned what's going to happen, and nobody was listened to. And now we're seeing the consequences of that, sadly, currently what's happening in Afghanistan.
Before we talk about the current pullout and what's happened since August the 15th when the Taliban took Kabul, your thoughts on your own personal experience, having been yourself a refugee?
You're asking about my experience as a refugee. My experience as a refugee is that we live in two worlds, in two identities. You're not enough for the world here, and you're not enough for your world at home. You're growing up with two separate identities, and really seeing what happened in the last month or so was triggering for Afghans and refugees worldwide to kind of see somebody escape with maybe one bag, if that, which is what happened to myself and my parents and my family.
You go with 2 suitcases to Australia.
We did. We left, like so many people, with just almost the clothes on our back, and we eventually made it. We were resettled in Afghanistan. We were stateless and paperless, and we ended up being resettled in Australia. And my father's role as an educator in Afghanistan and an activist kind of brought me to the work I do.
Brought you to the work you do, and you're doing that work when Donald Trump announces he's negotiating with the Taliban. Your thoughts then?
I'm speaking my capacity as just an Afghan woman, and not as Women for Afghan Women, just to be clear. It was disastrous. I mean, Donald Trump really caused chaos worldwide, right? So...
Yeah, and now this pullout. And the U.S. did have to pull out at some point.
Absolutely. We too, as Afghans who are in the West or who are outside Afghanistan, have some privilege. So we always take lead from what everyone in Afghanistan is saying. Somebody like me who might say, how can you negotiate with the Taliban? We needed to have peace, but those negotiations were not conducted in a way that served the Afghan people.
They didn't have to, the negotiations happened in a wrong-headed way. One final question for you, Fatima. Do you feel as though 20 years on, Americans understand the rest of the world better?
No.
No.
I think it's slowly happening now, maybe with social media and with just the amount of news coming out from people on the ground. But we have seen an outpouring of support for the Afghan community, and I hope it continues. But, for many, many, many years, Afghanistan was forgotten, and we appreciate all the support we're getting now, and we just hope that it continues, not just in the United States, worldwide, as we see how refugees are treated, and we hope that the refugee makers become the refugee takers, and that people open their doors, because we pray that no one ever goes through what we've gone through.
And you're anticipating more Afghans coming here?
I hope so. I hope the world opens their doors. The US has accepted a good amount of Afghans. Definitely they could accept more. We're hoping to see France. We're hoping to see the EU really open their doors to the Afghan people, given that they were involved in the last 20 years, and given that they are able to and can afford to take in, many Afghans.
Fatima Ramati of Women for Afghan Women, thank you so much for joining us here.
So much.